Welcome to this video on eclipse season. This is the most powerful time of 2023. So let's learn how to avail ourselves to this kind of potency that only an eclipse can deliver. We just went through some gnarly ones back in 2023. So you remember those Scorpio eclipses. I think these are going to have a different flavor to them, but eclipses are reboots. They are about letting go. They are about completions and losses, but for the purpose of stepping into the new. They always serve in that way. You know, the ancients were really freaked out about eclipse, and you can kind of see that. If the thing that you calibrate your life to is the sun, because it nourishes the harvest. It's the reason why you're here and we all have life on the planet. The moon that controls the tides and charts where we are in the calendar. It can totally freak you out when it goes dark. So there was a lot of superstition around eclipses. And what I want to bring through is not the superstition, but I want to bring through the opportunity, because I look at it from a consciousness perspective. One of my teachers, my astrologer, Michael Lennox, he is a consciousness astrologer. And he was always talking about how if you imagine the darkness of the moon on a full moon lunar eclipse or the darkness of the sun on a solar eclipse, it's like a reboot. It's like shutting down your computer and defragging it. Sometimes my iPhone just doesn't work and it won't, and I don't understand it. So I just shut it down. And then I turn it on and it works. And so perhaps our consciousness, it's like we have to clear the cache. We've just been shoving a bunch of things in at the speed that we're going, and we're trying to keep up. And there's like a new bell and whistle every single day. And so maybe what this eclipse is saying is, you know what? Clear the cache. Get that stuff out of your brain. And so there's ways to do that so that you can align with it. Now, each eclipse has a season. So this Scorpio eclipse, what does Scorpio rule? It was ruling like death and rebirth. It's like double eclipse because it's like double death, double rebirth. And we went through huge portals back in 2023. Now, 2024, we're going to have eclipses every year. So it's not like it's weird. It's just, they have unique aspects of their power. So we're going to start with the full moon lunar eclipse, and we'll break it down. And that's in Libra, because the sun will be in Aries. And so Aries Libra is on an axis. So again, we know about that axis because we know that the north node is in Libra and the north node is in Aries and the south node is in Libra. That's where our collective destiny is pointing toward Aries and our past is pointing toward Libra. So that's going to give you a little bit of context that we're really going into a clearing more of the past. That's what full moons are. We're being initiated on the first eclipse is on a full moon. Now, the interesting thing is it started back at the new moon in Pisces, because a new moon is the initiator. So we've been in this portal for a while. And by the time this full moon lunar eclipse happens on the 24th of March, and I'm speaking my time, so you can use an app to get your exact local time. The sun will already be in Aries, and therefore the moon will be opposite the sun in the sign of Libra. Now we're familiar with the themes. We're already familiar with the themes of this eclipse because of the north node and the south node. So I'm just going to say it. It's more relationship stuff. And it's not just romantic relationships. It's the way we relate. So how we relate is really coming up for a reboot. We're going to get illuminated on how we've been relating. And then it's like, close the curtain down, reboot, and now we're a new person. And, you know, that doesn't take place in one moment or even 4 hours. It takes place over time. These are astrological like transits that have lots of, impact on your individual chart. and also other signs, other planets. But if we isolate that theme of relationship, you can find out, first of all, where does Libra fall in your chart? What house is Libra in your chart? I like to use whole house astrology, and you start from your ascendant in the first house. That makes the most sense to me. But if you do it a different way, whatever, because they're all contexts. We're not saying right or wrong. We're saying what's the most powerful context for you. So Libra, what does Libra rule? Well, Libra is a great sign. It's the sign of scales and justice, but it's also a don't rock the boat. It loves to create win-wins. And sometimes the way it creates win-wins through the shadow nature is to like put up with stuff. It's to placate, is to people please. It's just to go along with the crowd. And because we're being initiated into an Aquarian world, Aquarius wants anything but going along with the crowd. Now, certain going along with the crowd is part of workability on our planet. We all can't be doing our own damn thing or the trash doesn't get picked up, you know? But our workability can come from a new place, not a place of diminishment, so that others can do their thing, so that there's no tension or friction in the space. I mean, how many hate conflict? If you're a hater of conflict, I get that, but this eclipse season is going to ask you to strengthen your spine. So you can still have a soft, open, compassionate heart, but your spine needs to be straight and strong, because we don't need any more collapsing. You know, we don't need any more walking around with your shoulders guarding your heart. We really need in my full power. And yes, I am willing to partner with you. I am willing to be collaborative. I am willing to be cooperative. I'm willing to give on that point. It's okay, because it doesn't compromise my sovereignty. It's not a full no to me. But you have to know that first in order to be able to speak that and relate like that. And that's why the North Node's in Aries. It's really strengthening that part of really, what is your truth? Who are you? What are you bringing to the table? I would encourage you to listen to my transmission on the North Node in Aries and relationships, because it's just what we're going to be dealing with for the next year. Yes. And some of you are in your nodal return. If you are in your mid-50s, you're in your nodal return. You have an Aries North Node. So that's going to be hitting you a lot harder. This eclipse will probably be hitting you a lot harder. So yeah, you want to get really in integrity with your relationships. So what does that mean? You can only be in integrity with your relationships if you're in integrity with yourself. You got to know what your truth is. If you don't know what your truth is, and it's not even just that you know, because sometimes we do know, and we can Monday night quarterback it, and we can go, that's a term I learned from the bro camp. We can Monday night quarterback it, and we can go like, oh yeah, I knew that. Okay, but here was the thing that happened. You were going too fast. And when you're going too fast, you don't give yourself a pause moment to check in and let that gnosis come to your mind and then out of your mouth. So one of the phrases that I love for relating is, yeah, let me think about that. Can I get back to you tomorrow? It creates a pause moment. It creates a buffer zone. I have another rule of thumb about a buffer zone, and that is when you receive a text that's inflammatory, you do not respond. You give it 24 hours. And if a person is really waiting for your response, and it would be kind of a sense of abandonment or against your agreements, then you just text back and say, I received your text and I will get back to you tomorrow. Enough said. So it's honoring of you and honoring of the relationship. So that's what's really coming through. We're going to get ninja at this. Trust me, we're going through the gauntlet so that we can get ninja at the way that we relate to ourselves and therefore to others. Because really, the way that we treat other people is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. You know, you've heard the phrase, I think you may have heard it, that you can't, to the extent that you love yourself is the extent that you can love others. I think that's really profound. And I have another saying that is a touchstone for me. You can't ask others to do for you what you're not willing to do for yourself. So this might come into play where you're really asking your partner to do something for you, but you continually put up with the no. So that means that you're not willing to do it for yourself. And I'll give you an example. Say you're dating, you're in a dating relationship, you are a woman who wants to have a baby, and you keep dating men who don't want to have a baby. Well, that's not saying yes to that desire. So the way that we get to fulfill our desires is by saying yes to ourselves. And that would mean to tell that person, oh, I would really love to explore a relationship, but because you're a no with children, that's a no for me. And now I'm going to walk away and go find the yes. When you do that, that honors you and you're willing to do it for yourself, then others will be willing to play with you. So that's kind of the quality and nature of this Libra full moon eclipse. It's all about relationships. Now, relationships are getting a huge reboot. So it's not just you and your consciousness. Think of the relationship as a separate entity. And you have contracts and you have your why, your collective why. So you may have entered the relationship with your why. Like you were saying, you know, I wanted to have a child, so I entered into a relationship. Now you could have the children and your contract could be over because you already had the children. If you don't have a deeper why of why you're together, that's a collective why, then your contract may be simply up. What if you came together and you wanted to have a child, but you never did? It didn't happen for whatever reason. You need to renegotiate that contract because you came together with the purpose of having a child, and that purpose is now complete in one way or another. So this eclipse is saying, what are your agreements? You're going to have to speak them out loud, and you're going to have to negotiate new agreements. Where do we have shared interests? Where do we have a shared purpose? Now, this goes for our relating in general, not just romantic relationships, because Libra rules our relating. It's opposite Aries with rules, which rules our I amness, our sovereignty, our sense of our individuality, our sense of our individuality. That's what Aries rules. Libra is our relating with others. So remember, astrological opposites are on axes, and this is the relationship axes. So here we are. We're getting stronger in ourselves, and we're also rebooting outdated relationship contracts. So it's a good time to get a therapist. And if it's the end and you're completing a contract, it's a good place to have a sacred ceremony. It's a good place to have agreements and conversations and to really let go of the old paradigm of blowing shit up, of getting your attachment wound intertwined with that person, because that's a lot of transference happens and we project our mother, father onto our partner. Yes, we do. And we're here to grow that up. And so if you've been doing that inside your relationship and therefore it's codependent, you know, you are up for a relationship upgrade. And that was one of the, the oceans I swam in. So I know a lot about that. And I'll probably do more videos on codependency because that is on the menu right now to clear it. And I think that's in the intelligence of the cosmos. That's what I ascribe to why there's so much Aries energy. Why is the North Node in Aries? And why is the new moon solar eclipse conjunct the North Node and also Chiron, the wounded healer. I'm going to get to that in a second. Why is that in the sign of Aries? Well, it's because we really have to get rid of, we're invited to deeply get rid of old relationship patterns. Just presence for a moment to step into our evolutionary future. We cannot take the baggage of how we were relating, how we were forming agreements with each other. It's just done. It's just codependent. It's like saying, it's transactional. It's like saying, I'll do for you if you do for me. You know what? We're going to have robots to do that shit. We're not going to need to make transactions. You know, Dave Rico, he wrote a book called How to Be an Adult in Relationship, and he has a video series called How Relationships Work. I highly recommend it. And he says a bunch of gems, and I love him because he lays down bright line rules. And if you are anywhere near the legal profession, you'll know that bright line rules are super helpful. They're not always true, but they make life really workable. And he said a couple things. He's like, if your partner is gone more than 3 days a week, they're unavailable. If you've got more than 4 dogs, you're unavailable. Or animals. He's just calling it, right? Like whether you've got some workability in there, great, but he's just calling it. And one of the things he said is that you get 25% of your partner's time and attention. And I love that. I actually calculated the numbers, and that's kind of a long time. It's like really hanging out after workday and hanging out on some of the weekends. So it's not nothing. But let's say for 25%, do you really want your partner to be your handyman? Just asking. Do you want him to be your tantric lover, or do you want him to be your handyman? You get 25%. How do you want to spend it? So those are the contracts we get to renegotiate. You know, that partner is not here to be everything to you. You're going to go to the gym and you're going to work out. You're going to have your sisters. You're going to join the Evolving Sisters Network membership, and you are going to have your soul sister time, and you're going to close the door and they're going to be on that side and we're going to be over here. You're going to have your time, going out with friends. You're going to have your time alone in nature. You're going to have your time at work. So our lives are chunked up in many, many different ways. And it's just not for you or someone else to put on you that you get to fulfill more than 25%. That's unrealistic. And that like kind of leans into a codependency where it's like a collapse instead of, a partnership, a side-by-side partnership where we're each autonomous individuals and interdependent, but not collapsed on each other. Oh my God, all my relationship training is coming out and I love it. So let me segue to the new moon, and I'm going to complete the transmission for this eclipse season. And I love how all of our transmissions, I watch transmissions too. We're all really different. We're all bringing through something different. So if this resonates with you, comment below. I love reading your comments. I read every comment, even if I don't get a chance to respond. Okay. So we're in a wormhole, eclipse to eclipse wormhole. That's the reboot. So while your computer takes 60 seconds, no, 2 weeks for our consciousness, this slow computer right here. Plus, we want to give ourselves time to actually receive the downloads. And there's going to be planetary aspects that help that. So remember when I said that after the lunar eclipse in full moon in Libra, we got 2 weeks until April 8th, solar eclipse, new moon in Aries. Now, that is conjunct the North Node. That's our future. That's also exact degree, probably by 1 or exact degree of Chiron. Chiron is also in Aries. Who is Chiron? I think I did a video on that. Chiron is the wounded healer. So what's on the menu in that wormhole, and I'm getting chills, is your healing. The healing that you need inside yourself. Any breaks to your sovereignty, any breaks to knowing who and what you really are and why you're here, any breaks to your boldness, any breaks to your understanding of your important singular role here as a separate being. I mean, we're oneness incarnating in this apparent separateness. So any breaks, any wounds, any gaps that has you not really fully embodying your true self is going to get healed right then, right there in this eclipse. That's the promise of Chiron, being right with this Chiron in Aries, right with the sun in Aries, the moon in Aries, and the reboot of the sun. Now think about it, the sun, the energy that fuels all of life. I'm going to be in a place where it goes dark because I want to witness that shift in my own consciousness. Real time, I missed out on the last time, and I committed not to miss out on it this time. So I will be there to experience that. You can do it anyway through meditation, through your intention, and through your practice. Every day, practice some way that makes sense to you, where you're stepping into healing. If that's journaling for you, then journal. If that's getting your butt into therapy, then get in. If that's doing Kundalini yoga, do it. Do it during, start now. Don't wait. Start whenever you're hearing this transmission. Do it through the wormhole. Do it even past the wormhole, because we're going to go into a Mercury retrograde that's right before, actually, it'll be the week before, we'll have a Mercury retrograde that's going to start helping us understand what the hell is going on. Then when we have the reboot, we'll still be in Mercury retrograde. And then we have this beautiful Jupiter conjunction. So I feel like what this is doing is just a big boon for humanity. I'm just looking off like it's coming through. It's a big boon for humanity. We've been waiting for this moment. Like, we've been toiling. We had the Scorpio freaking eclipses that took us down. It took us to our knees. And finally we're like, this is the healing we've been waiting for. So put in your third eye space, in your crown, in your womb, in these portals of the luminous void, put in the seeds of a new humanity, a healed humanity, a whole humanity, healing, empowerment, sovereignty, and evolutionary feminine leadership. Those are the three pillars of the Evolving Sisters Network. I see these three pillars coming to life inside this eclipse. It is made for us. If you're a medicine woman, a healer, a light worker, a teacher, a guide, a shaman, a leader, this is for you. We are midwives of the change of an age, and this solar eclipse that comes after this lunar eclipse is bookending this incredibly healing portal for you, for me, for our collective destiny, because it's hitting the North Node. Our collective gets to be healed. So make that a part of your prayer every day as you're praying for your own healing. Pray for the healing of all of us. It's entirely possible. Oh, I'm super jazzed and excited about it. There's a couple other energies that are going to come through that are going to make us, on one hand, very dreamy and visionary, and on another hand, very practical. So I think we're going to have in our toolkit everything we need. So if you go on a ride and this hits you hard, reach out, be in community. Let us all support you, because this is huge, big work. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video.